Emotional manipulators don't overpower you. They use your brain against you. Every guilt trip, every small favor, every silent stare is designed to control your perception. And if you don't see it happening, you'll keep apologizing for things that were never your fault. Today, I'm exposing 7 psychological tricks manipulators use daily and how to shut them down immediately. If you're competent, capable, respected at work, but somehow in your relationships you feel guilty, overextended, always wrong, this video is for you. You're not weak. You're just not seeing the pattern yet. Meet Sarah, 32, marketing manager, smart, organized, reliable. 5:30 a.m. Zoom calls, daycare drop-offs, inbox flooding before coffee. By night, you're always too busy. Why are you overreacting? Can't you just help this once? She feels selfish. She isn't. She's being conditioned. Trick number 1, the foot in the door. You've probably heard the phrase before, but here's what it looks like in real life. Can you help me with this one thing? Just 5 minutes. It's not a big deal. It feels harmless. But here's what psychology research, including classic studies out of Stanford University, demonstrated decades ago. Once you say yes to a small request, your brain feels internal pressure to stay consistent. Humans are wired for behavioral consistency. We like to see ourselves as helpful, reliable, cooperative. So when the second request comes, slightly bigger, your brain whispers, well, you already said yes before. Then comes the third, then the fourth, and suddenly you're doing things you never consciously agreed to, you just agreed incrementally. If you're a high-functioning adult, respected at work, dependable in your family, this tactic hits especially hard because your identity is built around being capable, and manipulators leverage identity. Think of it like being slowly sucked into quicksand, except the quicksand sends really polite emails with smiley faces. No rush, which absolutely means rush. Here's the deeper mechanism. It's not about the size of the request, it's about momentum. Each yes lowers your resistance threshold, and by the time you feel uncomfortable, you're already 5 steps in. That discomfort, that's your boundary alarm. Here's how you shut it down. The moment you hear a small favor request, pause, not react, pause. Ask yourself, if I say yes to this, what does it realistically lead to? Say it out loud if you have to. Clarity interrupts compliance, because the foot in the door only works when the future stays blurry. The moment you project forward, the manipulation loses momentum. And here's the unsettling part. That was the logical tactic. Trick number 2 doesn't target your consistency. It targets your emotions, specifically guilt. And if you've ever felt responsible for someone else's disappointment, you might already be inside it. Trick number 2, guilt leveraging. Manipulators are masters at weaponizing empathy. They know exactly how to make your brain think you're failing, even when you haven't done anything wrong. That text Sarah just read, a dagger wrapped in a bow. Guilt lights up your amygdala, your brain's fear center. You feel tense, you want to appease, you want relief. And that relief is exactly what they're counting on. Every time you comply to escape the shame, they win and you lose a little confidence, a little control, a little peace of mind. Ever apologized for just breathing? Don't worry, you're not alone. In fact, 72% of people do this weekly. Yep, it's basically a hobby at this point. Here's the fix. Use the empathy mirror. Reflect, don't absorb. Calmly respond, I hear you're upset. That doesn't mean I'm wrong. No defensiveness, no over-explaining, just clarity. Your emotional energy stays yours. And once you've seen through guilt, you're ready for trick number 3, the silent treatment. It's terrifyingly effective because it targets the part of your brain that's literally wired to panic when ignored. Stick around. You'll see why most people fall for it every single day. Trick number 3, the silent treatment. And this one is primal. Your nervous system is wired for belonging. Thousands of years ago, social exclusion meant vulnerability. Isolation meant danger. So when hours pass without a reply, your brain doesn't interpret it as busy. It interprets it as threat. Your chest tightens. You replay your last message. You wonder what you did wrong. That's not weakness. That's biology. Manipulators understand this instinctively. Silence becomes leverage. They withdraw attention and wait for you to self-correct. You send another message. You apologize. You offer more. You chase. This works because uncertainty is psychologically painful. The brain would rather have a negative answer than no answer at all. So you act, not from clarity, but from anxiety. Here's how you shut it down. The gray rock method. Be unreactive. Short responses. No emotional chasing. No double texting. No over-explaining. When silence doesn't scare you, it loses its leverage because the silent treatment only works if you supply the panic. But here's what makes this even more dangerous. Sometimes silence isn't the hook. Sometimes it's the reward. And that leads directly into trick number 4, a manipulation tactic that doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like magic. Love bombing. Trick number 4. And this one doesn't feel like manipulation. It feels like magic. Floods of attention, endless compliments, constant texts, big promises, grand gestures. You feel seen, chosen, prioritized. And that intensity, it's not random. This is intermittent reinforcement, unpredictable rewards. Sometimes they're all in, sometimes they disappear. Sometimes it's passion, sometimes it's silence. And your brain, it becomes obsessed with getting the high back. It's the exact same neural circuitry that makes slot machines addictive. Variable reward schedules create stronger behavioral attachment than consistent ones. You don't chase consistency, you chase the spike. Ever chased someone who ghosted you after week 1? Told yourself they were just busy? Checked your phone 17 times in 1 hour? Yeah, that's not romance. That's casino wiring. You're not weak. You're neurologically predictable. Manipulators understand this pattern intuitively. They create intensity, withdraw it, reintroduce it, and every time they return, your attachment deepens. But here's the part most people miss. Love bombing isn't about affection. It's about control. Here's how you shut it down. You move from emotion to evidence. Start a reality check journal. Not how you felt, not what you hoped, just observable behavior. When did they show up? When did they disappear? What promises were made? Which were kept? Patterns don't lie. Intermittent reinforcement only works in confusion. Clarity breaks the cycle. When behavior becomes predictable, the dopamine trap loses its grip because addiction feeds on uncertainty, and you're replacing uncertainty with data. Now here's where things get even more destabilizing. What happens when the manipulator stops flooding you with affection and starts shifting blame? Trick number 5 is projection, and this is where they make you carry emotions that were never yours to begin with. Trick number 5, projection. Projection is when someone assigns their flaws to you. They're disorganized, you're irresponsible. They overstep, you're selfish. They're emotionally reactive, you're too sensitive. It's psychological deflection. If they can relocate the flaw, they never have to confront it. And here's the trap. The moment you argue emotionally, you enter their frame. You start defending yourself, over-explaining, proving you're not selfish. But now you're debating a distortion. Ever noticed how suddenly you're defending things you weren't even doing? Like, how did we get here? Here's how you shut it down. The broken record technique. Calm, neutral, repeated. That's not accurate. No emotional spike, no long explanation, no counterattack. Just, that's not accurate. When you refuse to carry what isn't yours, the power shifts. Projection needs reaction. Remove the reaction and the distortion collapses. But sometimes the manipulation isn't about blame. Sometimes it's about rewriting reality itself. And trick number 6 is the one that makes you question your own memory. Trick number 6, moving the goalposts. You finally meet the expectation, and suddenly it changes. You fix the issue. You improve performance. You adjust your behavior. But the standard keeps shifting. Over time, this creates learned helplessness. When effort no longer guarantees stability, your nervous system stops believing progress matters. You don't feel motivated, you feel defeated. It's like running on a treadmill that secretly increases speed every time you catch your breath. But here's what manipulation hates: specificity. Instead of scrambling to meet the new demand, pause. Ask clearly, what exactly is the standard? What does success look like? And will it stay consistent? Put it in writing if necessary. When expectations are defined, documented, and stable, the power dynamic shifts. Because manipulation thrives in vagueness, clarity forces accountability. Now, here's the final layer. What happens when all of these tactics combine? When guilt, silence, projection, and shifting standards start working together? That's when manipulation becomes identity level. And trick number 7 is the one that keeps people stuck the longest. Trick number 7, gaslighting. This one doesn't push you. It doesn't withdraw. It doesn't accuse. It rewrites. That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You're overreacting. Gaslighting isn't about winning an argument. It's about destabilizing your certainty. When your memory feels unreliable, you outsource your reality. And once someone controls your perception, they don't need to control anything else. For high-functioning adults, competent at work, respected by peers, this is especially disorienting because you trust your judgment professionally but start doubting it personally. Gaslighting slowly erodes self-trust, and when self-trust erodes, anxiety grows. Not because you're fragile, because your internal compass is being magnetized by someone else. And this tactic is powerful enough to deserve its own full breakdown. Because once you understand gaslighting in depth, you stop negotiating with distortion. But here's what matters right now. You've just seen 7 psychological tactics, and once you can name a pattern, you're no longer trapped inside it. If even one of these tactics hit home, you're not weak, you're perceptive, and perception is power. Comment below, which tactic do you experience most, guilt or silence? I read every response. And if you want to go even deeper, there's another video waiting for you. Phone addiction is quietly killing your focus. 8 psychology truths. It's exploding with practical tips to reclaim your brain from modern distractions. Watch it next in the end screen before your scroll habit steals another hour.